Mino wakes up at exactly 6 in the morning. His bedroom is large and almost empty. He does his exercises, then stands by the window and looks out over the city. At 7, he hears the first sounds in the house. It's Kayla. She moves through the mansion silently, like a shadow. Mino sees her from the second floor. She's wearing a dark blue uniform. Her fluffy hair is pulled back into a tight bun. She's not just cleaning. She does everything with such precision that it's almost annoying. Mino goes down to the dining room. Black coffee, 2 pieces of toast, and fruit are already on the table. Everything is in order. He sits down. Kayla appears in the doorway to collect the tray from the kitchen. She doesn't look him in the eye. She simply nods and speaks in a quiet, even voice. "Everything is ready, sir." "Thank you," says Mino. He watches her out of the corner of his eye. She wipes the already clean countertop, polishes a spoon that doesn't have a single spot on it. Her movements are quick and economical. Nothing unnecessary. She's been working like this for 3 months. The agency hired her. She was the best of the candidates. Too good. Mino leaves the table. He passes her. She steps back, making way for him. He smells a faint scent of soap and something sweet, perhaps fabric softener. Mino spends his day busy. He talks on the phone, checks reports on the computer. But part of his attention is always focused on the quiet movement in the house. Kayla washes the windows. She cleans the books on the shelf, removing each one and carefully dusting it. She changes the water in the vases. She is the ghost who maintains the perfect order in his life. Sometimes he wonders what's going on in her head, what she's thinking about, but his thoughts always wander to the matter at hand. Until today, she was just a piece of furniture, perfect, almost invisible. That evening, Mino was sitting in his office. He'd just finished a difficult conversation. Tenashin hung in the air. He went out into the hallway to pour himself some water and saw Kayla. She was leaving her room at the far end of the first floor. The door was ajar. She didn't notice him, and her face didn't have its usual blank expression. It was focused, concerned. She held something in her hand, a small, dark object, and quickly tucked it into her apron pocket. Upon seeing him, she instantly became neutral again, like a mask. "Do you need something, sir?" "No," Mino answered. "Everything is fine." She nodded and went into the kitchen. He remained standing. Something inside him skipped a beat. It wasn't fear, more like a cold, professional curiosity. Something was wrong. Mino returns to the office. He's thinking. He lives in a world where mistrust is the air he breathes. A maid who's hiding something, even the best maid, that's a reason to check. He's not superstitious. He's logical. He has a vague suspicion. That's enough to act. He has small cameras in his desk. Wireless, wide angle. He's tested them himself. He picks one up. It's small, like a button. He needs to find a spot. Not in her room right away. That's too rough. In the hallway, so he can see when she comes in and out. Or, better yet, in the mansion itself, pointed at her door. But no. If she's hiding something, we need to see right into her head. There's a risk, but the risk of inaction could be greater. Mino waits until late at night. 2 hours. The house is quiet. He walks into her room in the dark. He's never been there before. The room is small, very clean. A simple bed, a wardrobe, a chair, a small table. Nothing personal, like a room in a budget hotel. He quickly finds the spot, the top of a curtain rod. The camera is attached with a magnet. The angle is good. He can see almost the entire room, especially the bed and the table. He checks the connection on his tablet. The image is clear. He leaves as quietly as he came. Now we need to wait. 3 days pass. Mino watches the recordings. Nothing special. Kayla comes, sleeps, leaves. She doesn't even read in the room. She just lies there with her eyes open for a while, then turns off the light. On the 4th day, something changes. Mino watches the live stream in the evening. Kayla returns later, after going to the store. She enters the room and closes the door. She stands motionless for about 30 seconds, as if listening. Then she approaches the bed. She doesn't lie down. She sits on the floor, behind the bed, with her back to the camera. Mino zooms in. He sees her shoulders moving. She's doing something out there, in the blind spot. A minute later, she comes back out. In her hands is a small wooden box. It looks old, worn. Kayla places it on her lap. She doesn't open it right away. She just looks at it. Then she takes off the pin from her head, the same one that holds her bun. Her hair falls around her face in a fluffy, dark cloud. She almost never lets it down in the house. Kayla inserts the tip of the pin into the box's keyhole. Her fingers make precise, fine movements. After a few seconds, A soft click is heard. She sets the pin aside and opens the lid. Mino leans over to the tablet. He starts recording. First, Mino sees Kayla take a folded piece of paper out of the box, then a small, tattered photograph. She places them next to each other. Then her hand reaches into the box again and pulls out something metal on a chain. Mino freezes. He doesn't breathe. It's a medallion. Oval, made of a dull silver or white gold. There's a pattern on its surface, a stylized flower. An Asian symbol he's known since childhood, the very same one. The edge of the medallion is slightly bent, as if it's been dropped. Mino's blood pounds in his temples. He recognizes this thing instantly. He held it in his hands many years ago. He saw it around the neck of, he doesn't want to remember the name. This medallion disappeared that night, after that incident. They searched for it, but couldn't find it. Everyone assumed it was lost forever. And now it's here, in the hands of his maid. His muscles tense without his own accord. His body braces for action. Instinct tells him to get up, reach down, grab her by the throat, and demand answers, right now. But his mind, cold and disciplined, screams, "Stop! Why is he with her? How did he get there? What does she know?" His fingers grip the edge of the table so tightly his knuckles turn white. He forces himself to breathe, deep and slow. He can't break down. Not now. On the screen, Kayla picks up a photograph. She looks at it for a long moment. Then she holds it closer to the lamplight. Mino sees that it's an old photo. The color's faded. He can't see the details. He needs to see them. He pauses the recording and takes a screenshot. Then he zooms in as far as he can. The camera quality is good. The image becomes grainy, but still visible. There are several people in the photograph, young, smiling. Mino recognizes two of them. They are people from his past, from the life he painstakingly rebuilt, like this stone and glass mansion. They are standing in a simple courtyard, drinking something from cans. And next to them, hugging one of the boys by the shoulder, stands a woman. She has the same fluffy black hair pulled back into a ponytail as Kayla, the same smile, the same eye shape. She's older than in the last photos Mino saw, but this is clearly her mother. The resemblance is striking. Now everything falls into place. The medallion, the photograph, the connection. Kayla is here for a reason. Her mother knew those people, which means she knew him too. She knew what happened. Mino leans back in his chair. Everything in his head is reorganizing. A quiet, perfect servant. She's not just a worker. She's a hunter. She came here with a purpose, and that purpose is connected to him, to his darkest secret. He looks at the screen. Kayla carefully places the photograph and the locket back into the box. She closes the lid and clicks the lock. Then she hides the box back under the mattress. She straightens the bed so everything looks normal. She pulls her hair back into a tight bun, pinning it in place with the same pin. Her face is blank, calm again. The mask is on, but Mino has already seen what's underneath. Now he knows. Mino's blood, her instincts are telling her to do something immediately. Fire her, throw her out, or make her talk. But he didn't become who he is by following his first impulse. He thinks, if he kicks her out now, what will he get? Nothing. She'll leave and disappear, and he'll never know she knows who sent her and what she's planning. She'll change her name, her appearance, her city, and she'll wait for a new chance. No, that can't happen. If he forces her to talk, he thinks about it. He has options, but it's a risk. Noise, traces, and he looks at her calm, precise movements on the recording. She has nerves of steel. She's not easily broken. She's clearly ready for challenges, so he needs to act differently. He needs to observe. She came here with a purpose, so she will act. She will look for something, or wait for something. He needs to give her the opportunity to express herself. He needs to control the situation. Mino exhales. He makes his decision. He won't change a thing. He will act as usual. He will observe. He will become his shadow's shadow. He must learn her plans before she learns his secrets. He saves the recording to an encrypted file. He clears the history on the tablet. It's his game now. He needs to play smarter. The next morning, Mino comes down to breakfast as if nothing had happened. Kayla serves coffee. Her hands are steady. Her gaze is downcast. "Kayla," he says casually. She looks up at him. "Yes, sir? I'll be having dinner at home tonight. Cook something simple, fish and vegetables." "Okay, sir." No tremor in his voice. No extra sparkle in his eyes. A professional. After breakfast, Mino goes into his office. He picks up an old phone, not his main one. He dials a number. "It's me," he says. I need information about a person. Kayla, African American, 27 years old, worked through the Cozy Home Agency. Everything I have. The man on the other end of the line mumbles something. Mino hangs up. He knows checking through his channels will yield little. If she's so well prepared, her cover story, her biography, will be clean. But he has to try. A few hours later, a reply arrives. A text message to the same old phone. According to the agency, Kayla Jackson. Good references. Left previous jobs due to family circumstances. Bank account is modest. Few transactions. Mother died 5 years ago. No further details. All clear. Too clean. Family circumstances is blurry. A dead mother. That matches the photo. But nothing else. No friends, no connections, no hobbies. Like a ghost. This only confirms his suspicions. She erased herself to enter his life. It comes at a high price. There's a serious reason behind it. Mino decides to take action. He needs more than the camera can show. He needs to see it with his own eyes. While Kayla is at the market, he has an hour, maybe an hour and a half. He puts on thin gloves. He enters her room. He works quickly and methodically. He starts with the closet, carefully feels every fold of her clothes. He looks for pockets, sewn in pouches. Nothing. He checks under the mattress. There's a box there. He doesn't take it. He simply notes its location. Then he examines the mattress itself, the pillows. Nothing. He kneels down and examines the floor under the bed. The boards are sturdy, unmoving. Then his gaze falls on the leg of the chair by the table. The chair is old, wooden. On one of the legs, just above the floor, there's a small, barely noticeable hollow, as if a piece of wood had been gouged out and then reinserted. Mino picks up a chair and carefully lifts the piece with his fingernail. He steps away. Inside is empty, and there lies a small stack of papers, folded several times. He pulls it out. Mino quickly returns to the office with the papers. He unfolds them. This isn't a diary in the usual sense. These are notes. Short, businesslike. The sheets are covered in neat handwriting. Dates, names. Not all of them are familiar to him, but some names make his blood run cold. They are the names of people from his old organization, people who are now at the top, or those who have disappeared. There are notes next to the names. Meeting Thursday, cafe on 5th Avenue. Goes to the dacha every Saturday. Bodyguards, 2. Change at 6 p.m. Weakness, horse racing. This was intelligence. She was gathering information. Not just about him, about many. She was tracking their habits, their routines, their weaknesses. On one of the sheets, at the very bottom, he sees 3 lines, underlined twice. Where is the evidence? Only M knows. The key is in the past. Start from the beginning. Check the connection with the mother. M. It's him. Mino. The key is in the past. Check with mother. So she doesn't know everything yet. She's looking for proof, some proof that she thinks he has or knows about, and she's trying to reconnect with him and her mother. Mino carefully folds the papers back. He must return them before she returns. He now has part of the map. He knows what she's looking for. She's looking for clues related to that old case, and she believes he's the key. Now he can't just throw her out. He needs to find out what exactly she found, what exactly she knows, and who else might be in on her little investigation. The game has become more complicated, but now he sees several moves ahead. He returns the papers to the hiding place and leaves the room, erasing all traces behind him. Now he will wait, knowing a little more. Mino sits in his office. In front of him are copies of the notes he found. He photographed them before returning them. Now he studies them again, highlighting one name that appears more often than others. Tyel. A former partner, the man who now controls legitimate businesses, transportation companies, warehouses. The man who knew how to retreat into the shadows when the old structure began to crumble. His name in Kayla's notes is surrounded by the most detailed notes. Routes, meeting schedules, names of assistants. Mino presses the intercom button. Kayla, he says. A minute later, she appears in the doorway. Yes, sir? I'll be at dinner tomorrow night. Business meeting. Have my dark gray suit ready. And a cream shirt. Okay. Meeting with Mr. Tyel, Mino adds, watching her face. At the Lotus restaurant. It's important to make an impression. He sees it. An instant pinpoint reaction. Her pupils dilate slightly. The muscles around her eyes tense for a split second. She doesn't shift her posture, doesn't flinch, but this micro-response is enough. I'll get everything ready, she says evenly, and leaves. Now Mino has no doubt. Kayla's target is Tail. She's looking for him. Perhaps for revenge, perhaps to gain something, but her interest in Mino is secondary. For her, he is a path to tail, perhaps a source of information, perhaps a key link. Mino begins experimenting. He leaves an old notebook prominently displayed in his office. On the top page are random numbers and the phrase, "Warehouse number 4. Check." It means nothing, but he wants to see if she'll show interest. A day later, the notebook is in the same place, but the corner of the top sheet is slightly folded. Kayla doesn't take the items. She moves them slightly to test the owner's reaction. He mentions at dinner, as if to himself, old things sometimes come up. Even years later, he doesn't look at her, but he sees her hand, holding her napkin, pause for a second. He invites a guest, a small supplier with no ties to the past. They talk in the office about numbers and contracts. Mino leaves the door ajar. Then he asks Kayla if she overheard their conversation while serving coffee. Does she have an opinion on this man's reliability? No, sir, she replies, looking him straight in the eye. I don't eavesdrop on your business conversations. She's not lying, but she's not telling the whole truth either. She listens, but she does it in a way that no one notices. He feels an invisible net stretching between them. Each one tests the strength of the mesh. Each one waits for the first false step. A situation arises spontaneously. Two men in formal attire drive up to Mino's house. They show ID. They ask questions about his business, about certain transportation operations. It's a routine check, but Mino senses someone's interest behind it. Perhaps that same tell. Mino invites them into his office. He's calm. All the documents are in order. But one of them, the younger one, starts pacing the room, examining the shelves. His gaze falls on a cabinet containing a collection of old knickknacks. Among them are things best left unsaid. Kayla enters to offer the guests water. She sees the guest's gaze. She sees him reaching for a small statuette, a gift from a shady figure from the past. Before Mino can say anything, Kayla steps forward. She sways slightly and spills some water from the carafe onto the floor in front of the cabinet. It splashes onto the guest's shoe. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she exclaims, genuine dismay in her voice. "I'm so embarrassed. Let me get some napkins." The bustle distracts the guest. He jumps back from the cabinet, irritated by his wet shoe. His colleague watches with a smirk. Mino seizes the moment. "Don't worry," he says coldly. "Kayla, put this away. And let's get back to the paperwork, gentlemen. I don't have much time." The incident is over. The guests leave 20 minutes later, having found nothing of interest. Mino remains in the office, pondering what happened. Was it an accident, or did she realize the statue might raise unnecessary questions? And if she did, how did she know? She protected him, unwittingly or intentionally. It doesn't fit the image of a vengeful huntress. Doubts gnaw at Mino. He watches the camera footage again. He sees how she carefully holds the locket. There's no malice on her face at these moments. There's sadness, melancholy, the same one he gets when he thinks about the past. He reads her notes again. Yes, there's a lot of information about Tail, but there are no direct threats, no plans of attack. There are words like evidence, connection, truth, as if she doesn't want to take revenge with weapons. She's looking for information. Why did she help him with the audit? Perhaps to save her job. If his business was shut down, she'd have to leave, and her plan would fall apart. That makes sense, but there was genuine fear in her eyes at that moment. Fear for him, or for the spilled water. Mino couldn't figure it out. For the first time in a long time, he was confronted with something that didn't fit neatly into any clear patterns. He thinks about her mother, about the photograph. Could her mother have been not an enemy, but an ally? Or a victim? He's never considered that option. His past seems black and white to him, his own and others. But perhaps there were others. Kayla's notes include the following. The place where M and T first met was an old warehouse by the river. Should I ask my mother? Looking for a connection. An old warehouse by the river. Mino had forgotten about it. It was a decade ago. The first, most brutal cases were decided there. It was there that he first met Tael. It was there, too, that something happened later that he doesn't like to remember. He decides to go there alone, without warning, at night. The warehouse is located on an abandoned site, an industrial zone. The river has long since dried up. The building is half destroyed. Mino parks his car a short distance away and approaches on foot. He remembers the smell, rust, dust, and raw water. He steps inside. The flashlight beam picks out piles of trash and peeling paint from the darkness. He walks to the far corner, where their makeshift office space once was. and then his flashlight picks out someone's silhouette. The person is sitting on an overturned crate, with his back to him. Mino freezes, his hand reaching for the gun at his belt. The silhouette slowly turns. The light from the lantern falls on the face of a man in his 50s, gaunt, with a scar running from temple to chin. Mino knows this face. Jinho. Jinho, the former accountant, the man who kept all the black accounts. He disappeared after that incident. Everyone thought he was dead. Mino thought so himself. Mino, Jinho croaks. His voice sounds like the creak of a rusty door. I was waiting. I know someone's digging. I thought you'd send someone. I didn't think you'd come yourself. What are you doing here? Mino asks, not lowering the lantern. I'm living, Jinho shrugs. Sometimes I watch. Old sins keep me awake. Why did you come? To reminisce about your youth? Mino doesn't answer. He looks at this ghost of a man. Jinho looks like a tramp, but his eyes sparkle with a sharp, lively intelligence. You knew a woman, Mino says bluntly. An African-American, about 20 years ago. She had a daughter. Jinho freezes. Then he nods slowly. Lyru. Yes, I knew. She worked here, cleaned sometimes. She saw a lot. Too much. What happened to her? Mino asks. She was scared, Jinho says. After that night, after what happened with those guys, she found something on the floor. This locket of yours. You always wore it. It came off in a fight. Mino remembers. Remembers that night. Remembers the chaos. She picked it up, Jinho continues. She wanted to give it back to you. But then the showdown started. Everyone was intimidated. She came to me. She said that if she had this locket, she was safe, that it was her insurance. If anything happened to her, the evidence would go to the police. I told her to run, to disappear. And that's what she did. I thought you knew about the locket. Mino is silent. He didn't know. He thought the medallion had gotten lost in the shuffle. It turns out Lyra took it. As a guarantee. As protection for herself and her daughter. And this protection has now brought Kayla to him. Where's Lyra now? Mino asks quietly. She died, Jinho answers. 4 years ago. From an illness. But she managed to tell her daughter everything. Everything she saw. About that night. About you. About Tal, who orchestrated the whole thing and got away with it. The daughter grew up and decided to find the truth, or justice. Mino returns home at dawn. His world has been turned upside down. Kayla is not a hunter. She is the daughter of a witness. She seeks not revenge, but proof of Toyel's guilt in that old crime. She believes Mino is either an accomplice or a victim who knows the truth. He walks into the house. The light is on in the hallway. Kayla stands there, already dressed for the morning. His dark gray suit for his meeting with Toyel lies on the table. She looks at him. She sees his tired, thoughtful face. She sees traces of dust on his boots. You were in the warehouse, she says. Not as a question, but as a statement. Her voice is quiet, but there is no fear in it. Mino looks at her. Yes. You saw him. Jinho. Yes. Then you know everything now, she says. A challenge appears in her eyes. The mask has finally fallen. Mino comes closer. You want to prove that Toyel is guilty of that? Of what happened to those people? And that my only guilt is my silence. Kayla nods. My mother had notes, but they were stolen. All I have left is the locket and her words. I thought you would help if you knew what I knew, or eliminate me, but you just watched. She made her choice. She laid her cards on the table, not by attacking, simply by telling the truth. Now it's Mino's turn. The outside world makes their choice for them. Suddenly, warnings flash on the mansion's security screen. Perimeter sensors are triggered. Cameras show 3 black SUVs abruptly stopping at the gate. Mino rushes to the monitor. He sees people in simple but identical clothing emerging from their cars. Their movements are quick, coordinated. These are professionals. He recognizes one, a former fighter from Tael's team. Your guests? Kayla asks, her body tensing. No, Mino says hoarsely. That's his answer. He found out you were here, or found out I figured something out. He's cleaning up all traces. They look at each other, enemies standing on the same sinking ice floe. In Mino's eyes, there's cold calculation. In Kayla's, there's determination. The back door to the garden, Mino says quickly. There's an old gate in the wall. It leads to the alley. They've already blocked it off, Kayla says, pointing to another screen where a figure is visible at the back wall. So the attic. Mino changes his mind. There's an exit there onto the roof of the neighboring garage. He grabs a small data tablet and a pistol from the table. Kayla, without thinking, tears off her uncomfortable apron, revealing only simple dark clothes. She runs to the vase in the alcove, pours out the flowers, and pulls out a small, flat pistol. Mino sees this out of the corner of his eye, so she really was prepared for anything. "Do you know where to run?" he asks, unlocking a secret door behind a bookcase that leads to a narrow staircase. "No," Kayla replies, following him. "Then listen to me if you want to survive and get to the truth. I don't have a choice yet." "We both don't," Mino says, and they begin to climb. The sound of a door being knocked down heard below. The threat of a common enemy forced them to unite. A fragile, temporary alliance based on survival instinct. The cat-and-mouse game between them ended. The hunt for them both began. They slip out onto the sloping roof of the garage. The night is cold. Below, in the alley, it's dark and empty. Mino is the first to jump down onto a pile of old crates, then helps Kayla. Her hand is cold and strong in his. There's noise coming from the house. Strange voices. Screams. They need to disappear now. "Follow me," Mino whispers. He leads her through a maze of backyards and alleys. He knows this neighborhood. They run, crouched, not speaking. 15 minutes later, they reach a small, locked gate in a high fence. Mino takes a key from a hidden pocket in his belt. The gate opens with a soft creak. Beyond the fence is an old, semi-abandoned private parking lot. Several wrecked cars are parked there. Mino approaches a gray van that looks like a tool truck. He opens the rear doors. "Get in." Kayla climbs inside without question. Mino follows her, locking the doors from the inside. The inside of the van smells of oil and dust. There are no windows. Only a faint light filters through the cracks. Mino turns on the flashlight. It illuminates the cramped space. Boxes and canisters are piled on the shelves. He slides one of the shelves open, revealing a small hatch. "Here," he says. "You first." Kayla squeezes through the hatch. It leads to a narrow space under the van's false floor. You can lie down there, but you can't sit. Mino crawls in after her and closes the hatch overhead. They lie shoulder to shoulder in complete darkness. It's hard to breathe. A few minutes later, they hear cars pulling into the parking lot. Voices, footsteps. Someone approaches their van and tugs the door handle. Mino feels Kayla freeze. He himself isn't breathing. A voice outside says, "Empty. Check the next one." The footsteps fade away. Then the cars drive away. They lie in silence for another 20 minutes. Then Mino carefully opens the hatch. "They're searching the streets. We need to change transport." "Where are we going?" Kayla asks for the first time. "Farther away. Somewhere where even my old friends won't find me." They change into an old, nondescript sedan, the keys to which Mino retrieves from a hidden compartment in the wheel of another car. He drives calmly, obeying the rules. They drive out of the city. The road narrows. Fields appear on either side, then a forest. Kayla is silent. She looks out the window. She just lost everything she had. Her things, her box, her plan. Now she depends on the man she considered her enemy. Mino turns off the asphalt onto a dirt road. It leads deep into the forest. Finally, he stops in front of an old, dilapidated fence. Behind it, a small house is visible. Not a dacha, more like a hunting lodge. The windows are boarded up. "We're here," Mino says. "Is this yours?" Kayla asks. "It was. A long time ago." He gets out of the car and approaches the old lock on the gate. Instead of using a key, he presses the bottom hinge, and part of the fence slides aside. An old children's trick. The house smells of mold and dry wood inside, but it's sturdy. Mino turns on the flashlight. It illuminates one room with a stove, a table, and 2 chairs. On the floor is a mattress in plastic wrap. On the shelves are canned goods and bottles of water. "I had these spots," Mino says, taking off his jacket. "Just in case. I never used this one. Nobody knows about it." Kayla looks around. This isn't a mansion. It's a cage, but it's safe. "We need to talk," she says, turning to him. Mino lights the stove. The old wood is dry, and the fire catches quickly. Warmth begins to spread throughout the room. They sit on chairs facing each other. Between them on the table are 2 cans of stew and some water. "Why did you believe me?" Kayla asks. "You could have just handed me over to them. You could have kept that water," Mino replies. "And one more thing, in your notes, you wrote evidence, not retribution. Looking for the truth, not blood. That's unusual." Kayla looks at her hands. "My mother was afraid for 20 years. She kept silent because she thought the medallion would protect her. Then she fell ill. Just before she died, she told me everything. About the warehouse, about the 2 young men who worked for Tayel, about how Tyle framed them in a deal and then got rid of them when they became dangerous. Your role was unclear, Mino says quietly. He looks at the fire. I was young, stupid, wanted power. I saw how Tyle manipulated those guys. I suspected where it was going, but I said nothing. I decided it was none of my business. I thought that's how our world worked. Then they were gone, and I realized I was wrong. I left, built a new life, but the past won't let go. Mom picked up the medallion that night, Kayla continues. She thought it was yours and that it proved something, but there was no proof, just her word. And words are worthless against someone like Tyle. I decided to find something real. Notes, numbers, anything. I thought you either knew where it was or you were involved in the cover-up yourself. I didn't hide anything, Mino says. I just ran. Like your mother, like Gino. Tyle intimidated us all. He made us all keep quiet. They sit in silence. The fire crackles. For the first time, they see not an enemy, but victims of the same man. Their stories, like two pieces of broken glass, begin to form a larger picture. What are we going to do? Kayla asks. We can't hide here forever. No, Mino agrees. Tal's on edge right now. He realized you're with me and that I've learned something. He'll be looking for both of us, destroying every trace. I have nothing. Everything was left in the house. I have something, Mino says. He takes out his tablet. He turns it on. These are copies of your notes, and some of mine. I've been collecting information on Tyle for years, just in case. Account numbers, kickback schemes, names of proxies, but it's all circumstantial evidence. Nothing that will directly tie him to those old cases. We need a witness, Kayla says. Someone who saw everything, like Jinho. Jinho won't come out to the people. He's afraid, and they won't believe him. He's a missing vagabond. Then we need to make Tyle show everything himself, Kayla says. Her eyes light up with the old, cold determination. He's sure everything is under control, that we're running and hiding, so we need to pretend we have something we don't. Mino looks at her. He sees not a servant, but a strategist. Bait, he says. Yes, we're letting him know we have some key evidence, something that will bring him down, and that we're willing to share it with, who? Not the police. He controls them. His partners, Mino says slowly. Those higher up, who wouldn't like any extra noise? If they find out Tyle is jeopardizing the entire business because of an old story, they'll get rid of him themselves. It's the only language he understands. How are we going to do that? Through a leak, says Mino. I'll pretend to sell the information. Through old dirty channels. Tyle will know about it first. He'll come for me to take the evidence. And you. And I'll be where he least expects it, finishes Kayla. With real evidence. Your numbers. And a recording of everything he says. It's dangerous. Everything is dangerous, says Mino. But it's the only chance to stop running. They look at each other. The shaky plan is built on a trust that's almost non-existent between them. But they have no choice. They must play this role. Together. Their plan works all too well. Mino contacts them through a stooge, a minor informant. He conveys that he wants to sell an archive related to Tyle's old cases. He arranges a meeting at an abandoned textile factory. Mino arrives first. He hides a flash drive with fake data in a ventilation shaft. It's bait. He waits in a huge, high-ceilinged workshop. Silence. Only the sound of dripping water. Suddenly, the lights go out. Not gradually, but all at once. Mino realizes it's a trap. He's played too confidently. He rushes to the back exit, but people are already emerging. Not the ones he was expecting. Not Tyle's partners. These are his personal guards. Tougher, faster. Mino retreats deeper into the workshop. He tries to use his knowledge of the area, but there are too many of them. They surround him. He sees Tyle. He's standing on the second-floor balcony, looking down as if at a performance. Where's the evidence, Mino? Tyle shouts. His voice echoes throughout the workshop. I don't have it. It was a trick, Mino replies, continuing to retreat. You're wrong. You have it. Or that girl. We'll find her, too. Mino tries to break through to the other exit. At that moment, a shot rings out. Not at him, in the air. It's a diversionary tactic. While he's turning away, someone hits him in the legs with a metal pipe. Mino falls. Pain shoots through his leg. He's surrounded. Someone presses on his wound with their foot. He loses consciousness for a second. When he comes to, his hands are already tied behind his back. Kayla watches from the sidelines. She's not at the factory. She's in a van a kilometer away, equipped with listening devices. She hears everything. She sees heat signatures on the screen through the drone hovering high above the roof. She sees Mino's signal, a motionless, bright dot, surrounded by other dots. She sees him being led away. Her heart pounds. Her first thought is to run, to save herself. She has no weapon except a small pistol. She is 1 against 10, but she thinks about his words in the hut. I didn't hide anything. I just ran. She thinks about her mother, who was afraid for 20 years. Kayla doesn't want to be afraid for the rest of her life. She uses her skills, not combat ones, skills of stealth infiltration. She knows they'll take Mino away. She needs to find out where. She hacks the city's camera system around the factory using an old laptop. She sees a black SUV leaving the premises. She memorizes the license plate. She tracks its route through the cameras. The car isn't heading into town, but to an old motor pool on the outskirts. Kayla drives there. She leaves the van far away and approaches on foot. The base is guarded, but not as heavily. Security is concentrated at the main entrance. She finds a hole in the fence at the rear. She crawls inside. She moves from shadow to shadow, as she has for years when she was tracking people. Her dark clothes blend into the twilight. She sees the warehouse where Mino was taken. A single guard stands at the door. Kayla waits. She sees another car pull up to the warehouse. A man gets out, carrying a bag of food for the guards. The guard at the door is distracted, talking to the driver. Kayla seizes this moment. She approaches the warehouse silently from the other side. She finds a small broken window at head height. She pulls herself up and goes inside. She's in a dark utility room. She hears voices through the wall. Mino sits on a chair in the center of the empty warehouse. His leg is numb. His hands are still bound. Tyel and 2 of his men stand before him. The archive, Mino. Where is it? Did you really think I'd believe your childish sales games? I don't have it, Mino repeats. I wanted to lure you out, to find out what you knew. Tyel laughs. He signals to one of the men. He searches Mino and finds a small tablet in his inside jacket pocket. Mino shudders inwardly. On that tablet are all his numbers, all his diagrams, circumstantial evidence, but all he has. Tyel turns on his tablet, scrolls through it. His face hardens. Is that all? He looks at Mino with disdain. Old numbers. Nothing that could touch me. Where's the real evidence? Where are Jinho's notes? Where's that woman's testimony? They're gone, Mino says. Tyel is furious. He throws the tablet onto the concrete floor. Then he stomps on it. The crunch of the screen is heard throughout the warehouse. He spins his heel, turning the device into a pile of plastic and glass. At that moment, Kayla acts. She steps out of the shadows. She doesn't shoot. She knows it's useless. She screams, "The police are on their way! I managed to send a signal!" It's a lie. But it's said so convincingly that Tyel's men are momentarily taken aback. They look at Tyel. Tyel glances back at Kayla, and his eyes flash not with anger, but with surprise. He hadn't expected her to come. Mino seizes this moment. He headbutts the nearest guard hard in the stomach, grabs his gun, and fires at the ceiling light. Glass rains down, plunging part of the warehouse into semi-darkness. "Run!" he shouts to Kayla. They run to the window she came through. Shots and screams can be heard behind them. Mino helps Kayla out, then climbs out himself, gritting his teeth against the pain in his leg. They run to the fence. They have a few minutes until the guards come to their senses, but they lost the most important thing, the tablet with the information. All the numbers, all the diagrams. Now they have nothing. They're back in the forest, by the hut. Mino is tending to the wound on his leg. The blow was hard, but the bone is intact. A bad bruise, nothing more. "Why did you come back?" he asks, not looking at Kayla. "You would have done the same," she answers simply. Mino is silent. He's not sure. Night. They sit by the extinguished stove. They have no plan, no proof. Tyel now knows they are together, and that they are almost unarmed. Suddenly, there's a rustling sound outside. Kayla grabs her gun. Mino stands up, pressing himself against the wall by the window. There's a knock on the door. 3 quick knocks. 2 slow ones. The old signal. Mino looks at Kayla. He recognizes that knock. He carefully opens the door. Jinho stands in the doorway. He looks even more exhausted than he did in the warehouse. Behind him is the darkness of the forest. "Let me in," he croaks. "I know you're here. I've been watching." Mino lets him in. Jinho sits down on a chair, breathing heavily. "They're looking for me all over the city. Your little drama at the warehouse has everyone worried. Tyel wants to close all the old accounts at once, and I'm on that list. What do you need? Mino asks. I have something. What you're looking for. Jinho takes an old, tattered notebook out from under his dirty jacket, wrapped in a plastic bag. This is a copy. The original is hidden. Everything I wrote down is in here. Bills, amounts, names, and most importantly, the receipt. Handwritten. Tiles. He gave it to those two guys he later framed. In it, he promised them a cut of one deal. They kept it as collateral. I found it after everything, hidden it. This is key evidence. Tile's direct connection to those people. But Jinho continues. Tile has problems, not just with you. His partners are unhappy. He's focusing too much on old stories and neglecting his business. They heard about some leak, about you trying to sell information. They think he's a threat to the business. There's a rift between them. Mino and Kayla look at each other. This is their chance. A rift in the enemy camp. If Tael's partners are ready to get rid of him, they only need to provide a pretext. This I owe you. Why didn't you give it to me sooner? Kayla asks. I was afraid, Jinho says honestly. I was afraid of him. I was afraid he'd kill me before the truth came out. But now you've touched him. He's furious. He'll search for you to the end. And for me too. That means I have nothing to lose. They study the notebook, the numbers, the dates. Everything matches, but Kayla feels something is missing. The receipt is a link, but there's no direct evidence that Tael gave the order to get rid of those guys. It could be chalked up to an accident. She sits with her eyes closed, trying to remember every word her mother said, every fragment of a sentence. Mom wasn't just talking about the receipt, she suddenly says out loud. She was talking about the box. He gave them the box, and they were as happy as children. I always thought it was about money, but what if it wasn't? Mino looks at her. What box? I don't know, but Mom mentioned it twice. The box with the seal. Maybe it wasn't a bribe. Maybe it was something else. Something they were supposed to give to someone else. And Tael slipped them something wrong, and they carried it on without checking. And they got caught. That was his setup. Jinho suddenly lifts his head. The seal! I remember. There was a story. Tael was smuggling electronic components back then. They were transported in identical boxes with a holographic seal. If the seal was the wrong color, the product was counterfeit. The partners could only check upon opening. He might have given them a box with the wrong seal, knowing they'd be caught at the receiving station. And where are those boxes? Mino asks. At the old customs warehouse, the very one where it all happened. The confiscated items from that case are still there. Piles of boxes. But you won't be able to find the one you need. We don't need to look for the box, Kayla says. We need to find the file, the photograph, the box number. If we find the box number from the file and connect it to Tael's handwriting on the receipt, that'll be direct evidence. He gave them a specific marked box. He framed them deliberately. Now they have a direction. They need to access the archives of the old customs file. It's stored not electronically, but on paper, in the basement of a government building. It's complicated, guarded, but not as strictly as Tael's facilities. They have 3 resources: Mino's knowledge, Saad's, Kayla's skills, and Jinho's information, and 1 asset, the IOU. They make a plan step by step. Jinho remains in the hut. He's their backup. If they fail, he's supposed to take the receipt and notebook to a major news agency. Kayla infiltrates the building. Her task is to find the file and photograph the relevant pages, especially the inventory of the confiscated items with box numbers. Mino provides external cover. He creates a distraction. He creates a small incident at the main entrance, a false alarm, a minor malfunction in the alarm system, something that will distract security from focusing on the interior. They meet at a prearranged location. If Kayla is caught, Mino won't interfere. He leaves. Their goal is evidence, not heroism. They check their equipment. Kayla has a small button camera, a flashlight, and a set of lockpicks. Mino has an old phone for sabotage and a pistol for emergencies. They prepare silently. No unnecessary words. Everyone understands the risk. Everything goes according to plan until a certain point. Mino creates a ruckus at the entrance by smashing a car's window with an alarm. The guards rush outside. Meanwhile, Kayla enters the building through the service entrance. She finds the archives room. The door is locked with an electronic lock. She tries to break it. It takes time. Too much time. She hears footsteps in the hallway. Someone is coming back. Kayla makes a decision. She can't let herself get caught here, but she can't leave without proof. She quickly looks around. She sees a ventilation grate in the ceiling. She stands on the shelf and unscrews the grate. She climbs into the vent. It's cramped, dusty. She crawls. She finds a shaft that leads down to a utility room. She goes down. She's in a technical room. The servers are here. And on one of the desks is an old computer connected to the internal network. Perhaps there are case scans there. Kayla sits down at the computer. The system asks for a password. She tries several standard combinations. Nothing works. There's no time. She hears people returning to the archive room. They found the open grate. They'll search. Then she takes a risky step. She takes out her phone. She has the number of one of the clerks working here, which she's already identified from public records. She texts from the building's official number. She can fake this. Urgent. System failure. Enter your username and temporary password for verification. Link to phishing page. She sends a message. She waits. The seconds seem like an eternity. 2 minutes later, a response arrives. The clerk, afraid of a glitch, entered his credentials on a fake page. Kayla gains access to her login and password. She logs into the system, searches the database for old cases, finds the number of that very case, opens the scans, scrolls through, and finds it. An inventory, box number TE-774, and next to it is a photo of that very box with a blue holographic seal. The interrogation report of those guys says, they claimed the seal should be green. They were accused of lying. Kayla has proof. She takes screenshots, uploads them to a secure cloud storage, erases any traces on her computer. But when she tries to leave, the door to the utility room opens. A security guard stands at the threshold. He looks at her in surprise, then grabs the radio. Kayla knows she can't run. She raises her hands. I surrender, she says loudly and clearly, so Mino can hear through the hidden microphone. Don't shoot. This is her victim. She allows herself to be caught, so Mino knows the evidence is already safe. Now it's his turn to act. Mino hears Kayla's words in his earpiece. He clenches his fists. His first thought is to rush there, but he remembers the plan. The evidence is in the cloud. Kayla is captured, but they won't hand her over to Tail right away. First, she'll be interrogated by her own people, the complex's security. He has a little time. He uses this information. He calls one of the old clean numbers. He calls directly to one of Tael's partners, a man named So. He speaks quickly and harshly. I have everything we need to bring down Tael. Direct evidence of his arbitrary actions, which are putting your entire business at risk. The girl who found them is now in the hands of security at the customs warehouse. If Tael takes her, the evidence will go online. If you take her and guarantee her safety, I will hand over everything to you, and you will decide what to do with Tael. Let's meet. Just you and him. No other people. So is silent for a few seconds. Then he says, the place. An old warehouse by the river. In an hour. Agreed. Mino hangs up. He knows this could be a trap from both sides, from Tael and So. But there's no other way out. He's heading to the warehouse, the same one where he met Jinho. The circle is complete. He arrives first. He stands in the center of the empty space. Half an hour later, 2 cars arrive. So gets out of the first. He's alone. From the second, Tael and his 2 guards. Is the evidence? Tael asks immediately. The girl first, Mino says, looking at So. So nods to his driver. He opens the back passenger door. Kayla gets out. Her hands are free. She approaches Mino. They stand next to each other. Evidence, Tael repeats. Mino takes out his phone, opens a cloud. He shows 2 images side by side on the screen. Tael's receipt and a photo of the box with the number TLL774 from the case. You gave them this receipt and this box. Knowing the seal was wrong, you set them up, deliberately. And now, SAE sees what you're willing to do for an old vendetta. You risked your entire business. Tael looks at the screen. His face turns pale. He looks at So. So looks at him coldly, emotionless. Is it true? So asks quietly. He's lying, Tael screams. I have Jinho's entire notebook, Mino says, and a living witness. All of this is now in the hands of one person. If anything happens to us or the girl, everything will go online and to the police. Not to your people, So. But to the feds. So slowly turns to Tael. You've become a burden. You won't do this, Tael shouts. I already did, So says. He looks at his guards. Take him away. Deal with this. So's guards grab Tael. He struggles, screaming, but they lead him to the car. So looks at Mino and Kayla. Evidence. Everything. And your silence. The girl and I are leaving. Forever. We don't need you, Mino says. So nods. He turns and leaves. Mino and Kayla are left alone in the old warehouse. The roar of cars driving away can be heard in the distance. Silence returns. They look at each other. They have won this round. But they understand that this is not the end. This is a new reality. They are facing the consequences of their victory. 3 people stand: Mino, Kayla, and So. The air in the old warehouse is cold and heavy. This isn't a fight. This is a different kind of combat. A fight with words and facts. So silently looks at the photos on Mino's phone. His face is a stone mask. He's known Tael for years. He trusted him in matters the world dislikes. The receipt could be fake, So says finally. His voice is dull, emotionless. Check the handwriting, Kayla replies immediately. She speaks clearly, looking him straight in the eye. You probably have other notes of his. Compare them. This is his handwriting. He promised them a share, and then he set them up. What's this? So points to a photo of the box. The box number from the smuggling case, Mino explains. The same box Tael gave to those 2, with the wrong seal. He knew they'd get caught. He planned it. So turns his gaze to Tael. He's standing to the side, held back by So's men. Tael's face is a mixture of rage and fear. Lies, Tael screams. They made it all up. They want to drive us apart. So, they want to take my place. Why would they want your place? So asks calmly. Mino left. He built his own life. The girl? She wanted the truth about her mother. None of them want your business. They have Jinho's notebook, Mino adds. The whole set. All your old schemes. Not just this story. Everything. If this gets to your D&C partners abroad, they'll think you're unreliable, that you're causing trouble. You know what they do to problematic people. It's a low blow, So blinks. He thinks about his international contacts, about money, about reputation. One big story in the press, and all attention will turn to their network. That can't be allowed. What do you want? So asks, turning to Mino and Kayla. We want to leave, Kayla says. Forever. We want guarantees that no one will look for us, that this story is closed. And him? So nods towards Tel. He's your problem, Mino says. Not ours. He risked the entire business to cover up an old mistake. He only thought about himself. You'll decide what to do about it. So nods slowly. He's weighed everything. Tael is a threat to stability. The evidence Mino and Kayla have is also a threat, but a manageable one. They can be reasoned with, not with Tael, who's acting hysterical. Evidence, all the copies, and the notebook, demands So. After we're safe, says Mino. The girl's leaving today. I'll stay until she contacts me from a safe place. Then you'll get everything, and I'll leave. And if you deceive us, then you'll have to start hunting for 2 people who have nothing to lose, says Kayla. And we'll be ready. It's not a threat. It's a fact. Silence. So looks from them to Tael. The settlement is complete. It's a deal, he says. The girl is leaving now. You, Mino, stay here with me, as a guarantee. Kayla looks at Mino. He nods slightly. This is part of their quiet plan, agreed upon in the car on the way here. She should be free. Okay, she says. So's men let her pass. She leaves the warehouse without looking back. Mino is left face to face with So and the captive Tael. Jinho provided them. She drives to an abandoned gas station on the outskirts of town. There, in a secret compartment, are all the materials. The original Jinho notebook, the flash drive with the scans. She takes them. According to the plan, she is to hand them over to a neutral courier hired by Jinho to send to So. But first, she does something else. She has the number of an independent journalist who has been reporting on corruption for years. She doesn't send him evidence. She sends him an anonymous letter. Just a few lines. Look for Tael's connection to a closed smuggling case from 10 years ago, filed under TL 77 and 48. Key witness, Accountant Jinho. Questions for a man named So. That's enough. Like a seed, the journalist will start digging. And when So receives the original evidence and eliminates Tael, he'll think he has everything under control, but the seed will already be in the ground. It could sprout at any moment if So decides to break the agreement. This is their insurance. Quiet, unspoken. Meanwhile, at the warehouse, So is giving orders. Tael's men receive calls and, under the guise of an urgent mission, are sent to the other side of the city. So's men visit his offices and seize computers and documents. Everything happens quickly and quietly. Tael sees this. He understands that his empire, which he built over years, is collapsing in a matter of hours, not with a crash, but with the quiet rustle of papers and the clicking of switches. You can't do this, he whispers to So. I have connections. I'll tell you everything. Who will you tell? So asks coldly. Your people are now taking instructions from me. Your connections. After today, they will become my connections. You have become a weak link, and weak links are discarded. Mino watches without interfering. He sees the fear in Tyel's eyes give way to despair, and then to emptiness. The house of cards, built on lies, fear, and manipulation, is crumbling, and it's not a bullet that brings it down, but cold logic and a stronger power. 6 hours later, Kayla calls Mino from a clean phone. She's safe, in a small town 300 kilometers away. She confirms that the courier has picked up the package for S. Mino hands the phone to So. He talks to the courier and receives confirmation. The deal is done. Now it's your turn, So says to Mino. Get lost. If I hear about you or the girl again, the hunt will begin. And this time, I won't talk. Mino nods. He leaves the warehouse. He doesn't look back. He walks down a deserted road. He doesn't have a car. He walks several kilometers until he reaches the abandoned farm where he and Kayla had agreed to meet in a pinch. Kayla is already there. They silently climb into another car, bought with cash through a proxy. They drive all night. They change cars again. They don't talk about what they lost. The losses are enormous. Mino has lost everything: the mansion, the legitimate business he built as a cover, all his accounts, which are now likely frozen or under surveillance. He is no longer a wealthy widower. He is a fugitive. All he has left is the cash he always kept in hiding places in case of escape, and a passport in a different name, prepared long ago. Kayla has lost even more. She's lost her identity. Kayla Jackson, the quiet maid, no longer exists. She's lost her last connection to her mother, that box with the locket and the photo. All she has now is the knowledge that the truth has prevailed, and a life that has become completely empty and shapeless. They stop at a motel 1,000 kilometers from home, 2 separate rooms. They are too tired to talk, but when Mino turns to go to his room, Kayla stops him. Thank you, she says quietly, for not giving me up back then. Thank you, he replies, for coming back. It's not a hug. It's not tears. It's simply an acknowledgement of the price they've paid and the debt that now exists between them. They enter their rooms. The door between them is closed, but the wall is thinner now. Morning finds them on the road. They're heading south, toward warmth and a large port city where they can truly disappear. Buy passports. Board a ship. They are silent. But it is not the tense silence of enemies. It is the weary silence of 2 people who have been through the same storm. What are you going to do? Mino asks over breakfast at a diner by the highway. I don't know, Kayla answers honestly. All I know is cleaning, cooking, and keeping an eye on people. But I can't do it under my own name anymore. Me either, Mino says. My skills are too specific, and they're tied to the old name too. They look at their plates. Then Kayla says, we have money, your cash. We can start something small, somewhere far away. A cafe, a store, something simple. We? Mino asks, looking up at her. Kayla shrugs. It's scarier alone, and it's not profitable. 2 can look out for each other, for business reasons. There's no romance in her eyes, only practicality and the remnants of that cold calculation that brought her to his home. But now that calculation is working for their shared survival. For business reasons, Mino agrees, on a shared basis, 50-50. And a contract, Kayla adds. All the terms. On paper. Of course. They're on the road again. 3 days later, they reach a port city. They rent a small apartment for a month. They register documents under new names through a shadowy broker. Mino's name is now Min. Kayla becomes Kay. They're from Canada. Business partners. They find a small cafe by the water, which they sell. The owner is moving away. They spend most of the cash on purchasing and renovating it. They work from dawn until dusk, painting the walls, repairing the furniture, and planning the menu. Mino negotiates with suppliers. Kayla brings the place into perfect order and develops the accounting system. Sometimes at night, they sit on the balcony above the cafe and look at the lights of the port. They don't talk about the past, but it hangs between them like a quiet knowledge. One evening, Kayla brings 2 cups of tea. She places one in front of Mino. I saw it on the news today, she says quietly. An article about a corruption ring. Tyel's name was there, as a secondary one. He was found in the river a week ago. An accident. Mino nods slowly. He'd expected it. So isn't there, Kayla adds. And he won't be. He's smart enough. They drink tea. Then Kayla says, I don't regret it. Neither do I. That's all that needs to be said. They don't regret what they did. They regret the price. But the price has already been paid. Now all they have is this cafe, these new names, and this fragile, silent alliance. The new morning finds them at work. Mino carries crates of vegetables. Kayla arranges chairs. The first customers peer inside. The sun shines on the sign they hung together. Cafe at the pier. They don't smile. Their faces are serious, but there's no fear in their movements. They look forward, toward an uncertain future they've built from the ruins of their old lives. The trust between them isn't loud. It's in the way they turn their backs on each other, not expecting a blow. In the way a single cup of tea sits on the table between them. It's fragile, like glass, but it's real, and that's enough for now. Their days are beginning to find a rhythm. It's 6 in the morning. Mino, now Min, is heading to the market for groceries. He's learned to haggle with the fishermen and choose the freshest vegetables. He no longer wears cloth suits. Now he wears simple dark trousers and a heavy shirt with rolled-up sleeves. His toned body and defined features attract the attention of some of the shop assistants, but his gaze remains distant, polite. He's here on business. By 7, he's back at the cafe. Kayla's ex, is already there. She's wiping the countertops until they shine and arranging the chairs. Her fluffy hair is pulled back into a tight bun, just like before, but now it's not part of her uniform, but a practical necessity. They barely speak in the mornings. They just nod at each other. Their conversation consists of a to-do list on a chalkboard, short sentences about deliveries, a broken faucet, bills. 2. The doors open at 8 in the morning. The first customers are dockers on the night shift, stopping in for strong coffee and scrambled eggs, then tourists with maps. During the day, it's the locals who gradually come to consider the cafe their own. Min works behind the counter, preparing simple dishes, making coffee. He's learned. His movements are precise, but there's no ease to them. He's always watching, behind the door, behind the windows, at the faces of those entering. It's a habit he can't break. Kay manages the room, takes orders, and washes dishes. She also sees everyone. She remembers the habits of regular customers and notes new ones. Her smile for guests is polite and professional. She doesn't have any real smiles yet. They live in 2 small rooms above the cafe, separate. The door between them is always closed. Sometimes at night, Min hears her tossing and turning behind the wall. Sometimes she hears him get up and walk silently around his room, checking the locks on the windows. No one comments on it. One evening, after closing, they count the takings. The first week without a loss. Silently, he counts out half the money and hands it to her. She takes it, counts it, nods. Their contract is verbal, but strictly observed. I need to buy a new refrigerator tomorrow, says Kay, writing down the amount in the logbook. The other one is making noise. I've arranged for an electrician to check the wiring, replies Min. Maybe it's not the refrigerator. They are sitting at a table in an empty cafe. Between them lies money and a notebook. And suddenly, in the silence, a question sounds. Are you dreaming? She asks, without looking at him. He understands what she means. There is no need to clarify. Yes, he says after a pause. Especially the warehouse. And the sound when the tablet was crushed. And for me, the sound of that gate in the fence, she says quietly. And the smell of sheet in the van. This is their first conversation that isn't about business, about fear, about a shared past that lingers behind them like a cold shadow. We can handle it, he says, and it sounds less like confidence than a statement of fact, like an order to himself. Yes, she agrees. Otherwise, there's no point. The following week, the stranger shows up. He comes in the afternoon and sits at a corner table by the window. His clothes are simple but new. His face is unremarkable. He drinks coffee and looks at his phone, but his gaze often darts around the room, stopping at Mina at the counter, then at Kay. He comes 3 days in a row, always alone, always for an hour. Min and Kay don't discuss it out loud, but their movements become even more synchronized. Min discreetly checks the cameras they've installed at the entrance and in the dining room. Kay, passing the stranger's table, catches a snippet of his quiet conversation on the phone. Not the words, but the tone. Businesslike, cold. On the evening of the 3rd day, having cleaned up, they stay in the cafe. Did you see? Asks Kay. Yes, says Min. He's not a local and not a tourist. Is he following? Maybe, or checking. Old instincts kick in instantly. They don't panic, they make a plan, in case it's Agent S.O. or someone worse. We have spare documents, says Min, and the money is in the hiding place. The car is full of gas, adds Kay. She's already checked. They look at each other. There's no fear in their eyes, but a cold readiness. They've been through this before. They know the price of running. Maybe he's just a lonely businessman, Kay says, but there's no faith in her voice. Maybe, Min agrees, but we'll be ready. Day 4. The stranger comes again, but this time he beckons Kay. Miss, the bill, please. His voice is even, without an accent. When she brings it, he looks at her a little longer than necessary. You have a nice cafe, cozy, as if everything is under control here. Thank you, says Kay, her face an impenetrable mask. New owners? He asks, paying in cash. Yes, we bought it a month ago. Good luck, he says, and leaves. They don't see him again, but this encounter leaves a mark. It reminds them that their peace is an illusion, that the past can knock on the door at any moment. This thought changes something between them. Now, after finishing work, they sometimes linger downstairs. Not to talk, they simply sit at different tables. Min might clean a paring knife. Kay might sort through the silverware, checking for stains. The silence no longer feels awkward. It becomes a shared space where everyone is alert, but can allow themselves to relax a little because the other person is alert too. One evening, Min sets 2 cups of hot chocolate on the table. Not coffee, chocolate. He says nothing, just places one in front of her. She looks at the cup, then at him, nods. They drink. It's sweet and unusual. I remembered today, she says, looking at the steam rising above her cup. Like you said then, the first time I came to clean the office. Thank you. You said it like I'd done something important. Just brought coffee. You did everything perfectly, he says. It was alarming. She smiles slightly. For the first time, the smile reaches her eyes. And you kept checking everything out of the corner of your eye, as if you were waiting for me to make a mistake. I waited. They fall silent again. But now there's something new in the silence. Not trust yet, but the possibility of it. A foundation. They are 2 sharp stones that, gradually, under the pressure of circumstances, begin to wear down their rough edges against each other. A new morning finds them at work again. The sun rises over the port, painting the water a golden pink hue. Min carries the menu board outside. Kay hangs an open sign on the door. They stand on the threshold of their cafe, looking out over the waking city. They have nothing but this place, the money in the nightstand, and each other, not as loved ones, but as their only allies in this new, fragile world. We're out of coffee, says Kay. We need to order some today. I'll go after lunch, says Min. He turns to go inside, and for a second, his hand touches her shoulder. In passing, accidentally, perhaps to usher her in first. She doesn't pull away. They walk into a cafe. The day begins. The future remains uncertain. It could collapse at any moment. But for now, they have this morning, and the next, and a fragile, silent agreement to face danger together, not because they enjoy each other's company, but because it's the only sensible way to survive, and perhaps, someday, to truly live.